All right, welcome. Bo Horvat trade. Sorry it's a little late. My apartment completely flooded. Everything was pretty much destroyed. We were able to salvage some things, but we were displaced for about 8 days until they replaced the floors and the ceilings and all that crap. So a little delayed, but I still want to give my thoughts on this whole Bo Horvat deal. The Islanders essentially just get Bo Horvat in this deal, who's on an expiring contract, looking for a contract extension. Canucks are looking to deal Bo Horvat because theoretically they can't really afford his contract extension going into next year and would rather get something for Bo Horvat than let him walk in free agency this summer. The Canucks, on the other hand, they do pretty well. They get Atu Radi, which I believe is a second round pick, but it's the Islanders' top prospect. They get Anthony Beauvillier, kind of swap out some cap space to make it work. And they get a conditional first round pick. The first round pick is top 12 protected. If if the Islanders end up getting a top 12 pick, they'll obviously keep the pick, but it's it's not protected next year. So if the Islanders regress next year, that pick is the Canucks, and it could pay off for the Canucks. Honestly, I think it's a little too early to tell who won this trade. Bo Horvat, you kind of know what you're going to get. He's in a contract year. He's going to a team that needs scoring. So there's no doubt he'll help with the offense of the Islanders. But for a career, he's usually around like a 50 to 60 point player. He's having a career year. He's having a career year in goals and probably assists. I think he's up there in assists too. Overall points. Does that continue until he gets a contract extension? Is Lou Lamoriello, the GM of the Islanders, going to wait till the offseason to get as much production from Bo Horvat as he can? But does that up Bo Horvat's value? Bo Horvat's also looking to seek $8+ million. So, should the Canucks, or not the Canucks, the Islanders decide to extend Bo Horvat, which you would think they should, considering how much they paid to get a player. You don't want it to be a rental player. 8 million plus for a 50 to 60 point centerman it's a high asking price. It's definitely a high asking price. So the Islanders are more likely than not to overpay for an extension. But this is a player they desperately needed. We saw this with essentially the Boston Bruins last year, going out spending a ton to get Hampus Lindholm, who kind of had the same issue with Anaheim. Anaheim didn't necessarily want to pay him what he wanted, and it's worked out really well for the Bruins. So we'll see what happens with Bo Horvat. We'll see how he impacts the team. If he takes another step and this career year isn't just a career year, it's similar to his point production in future years, that would be encouraging to see for the Islanders. But let's talk about the Canucks and what they get, because honestly, I don't think they did all that poorly. You get something for a guy who's going to play, I don't know, 25 to 30 games. You're missing 25 to 30 games of Bo Horvat. You're not in playoff contention. You need to do something because your team isn't working. Even with guys like Bruce Boudreau, very respected, good coach. You get Rick Tocchet coming in, and that whole, I'm not getting into that whole scandal because I'll go off on a rant. He's not doing so hot behind the bench, given I think he's only had like one, maybe two games. There's systemic roster issues with that team that need to be fixed. So it seems like they're kind of trying to do something about it to an extent. Anyway, they get Atu Radi, who could be, he has top 6 forward potential to play in the NHL. Will he reach that? We don't know. We don't know. We don't even know if he's going to sustain being an NHL player in the future. So it's a prospect. It's a bit of a risk. That's kind of how that works. You get Anthony Beauvillier, who has been declining the past, 5 years now. A couple years ago, he was at about a half point per game. Last year, he was less than a half point per game. This year, he's like about a third of a point per game. His production's definitely fallen off, and for the cap hit, which is I think $4.125 million, I don't have that on my screen right now, but it's a little much for a player who isn't producing offensively when your team really needs the offense. Beauvillier is also signed through next year, so it's an interesting cap move for the Canucks. They don't have to re-sign Bo Horvat, but you also have to pay Beauvillier $4 million plus next year, and if he keeps sustaining the scoring rate he's been scoring at, it's it's not gonna look like a good contract or a good acquisition. Nonetheless, he is a talented offensive forward. He can play some defense too. It's not a bad pickup by any means, but I think Beauvillier was really thrown in to make this cap work and to kind of fill a roster spot, a forward roster spot on the Canucks. The last one is the most interesting, and we knew it was coming for Bo Horvat. You knew a first-round pick was going to be included. It is top 12 protected, so picks 1 through 12. If it's a pick 1 through 12, the Islanders get that pick, and that is deferred till next season, where the Canucks would get the Islanders' first-round pick in the 2023-2024 draft. So it's interesting. The Islanders, they're currently, going by the standings, they're 13 spots from last place. So there is a chance they could be, in the top 12 pick lottery. They'll be in the lottery, but do they win? Do they get a top 12 pick? We'll see. It's a good draft. It's a deep draft. There's an obvious reason why the Islanders wanted to keep a top pick if they have it. My concern is that if it ends up being like an 11th or a 12th pick, no doubt it's a good pick. But that also means that Bo Horvat isn't necessarily improving your team. And you have to deal with essentially the same roster next year should you extend Bo Horvat, because most of your cap space is eaten up by most of your players are signed into next year. There's not a whole lot of cap space to really improve this team beyond what it is. Again, we'll see. It's really dependent on how Bo Horvat performs. But if the Islanders do get their top 12 pick this year, that's not a good sign for next year. It means the Islanders haven't improved, which means the likelihood of the Islanders improving next season is drastically lower than if they have the money to spend in free agency rather than paying Bo Horvat a 50 to 60 point player. So next year, who knows how good or bad the Islanders are going to be? It's definitely a gamble. We could see this pick, be like like an 8th or a 9th pick next year. It's one of those things. It's you hope Bo Horvat pans out for the Islanders organization and the fans, and you hope Atu Ratti and this first round pick translate to something. It's too early to tell. Again, Horvat career year. If he sustains this, it's a good pickup for the Islanders. If he provides some offensive depth and offensive scoring for a really defensive team and helps make a push for them to be in the playoffs, that's great. It's great for New York or the Long Islanders. Yes, the Long Islanders. But if Atu Ratti fulfills his potential, becomes maybe even a middle six forward would be great. Beauvillier's contract falls off next year, or he starts producing in a new role. He's one of those guys that really needs a change of scenery anyway. So he could see his offensive production increase quite a bit, which would actually be really refreshing. Big fan of Beauvillier. Big fan. Hasn't scored 20 goals since his second year, which I think was the 2016-17 season, if I'm not mistaken. And this first round pick, what does this pan? Does it pan out to be a good player? Does it not? We've seen hits, we've seen misses in the first round. It's too early to tell who won this trade. I think it's intriguing for both sides. I'm happy the Canucks decided not to let Bo Horvat walk in free agency. It was clear they weren't going to be able to afford to re-sign him. So at least they get something for him, and they get a prospect, they get an NHL player, they get a first round pick that could produce, that could turn into something. It might not. The Islanders really get, they have a plethora of centers that can put the puck in the net, but they need offense. They need offensive scoring. Whether Horvat's on that first or second line, we'll see. He hasn't played a game yet. It's definitely intriguing to say the least. I also do want to apologize for Islanders fans. I'm wearing my Islanders jersey, but it has the wrong side. It has the captain's patch on it because it's a John Tavares jersey. So I'm sorry. I just figured you're trading a former captain, to the Islanders. It was kind of fitting. Please, anyone, if you want to send me a new Islanders jersey, that would be great. It was discounted, obviously, and I regret that I have this, but I have an Islanders jersey and I'm wearing it. As much as I'm invested in this Eastern Conference and I don't want to see the Islanders do well, I also want to see the Islanders do well. I like the Islanders. They're a good team. Same for Canucks fans. Like, yeah, I'm a Bruins fan, but like, oh man, like I feel bad for I just feel bad for like the fans in the market. That team has they've gone through some brutal times this past decade plus. It's they need to start putting together a winning organization for the fans at the very least. It doesn't matter what team you root for or what team you hate. You don't want to see fans suffer for years on end. But we'll see how this works out. I think it's a pretty good trade for both of these teams. Again, this is going to be something that we're going to have to reevaluate. I don't know, maybe in a couple of years, depending how Horvat and Ratti work out for their organizations. But it might come down to this first round pick and what that pans out to be. So we'll see. Interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Again, I apologize for the delay in this, but I'm back at it. Still got the mic, still working. So let me know what you guys think. All right, take care. I got a couple more videos to do because I got thoughts. I got a lot of thoughts that have been bubbling up the past week and a half. So I'll see you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you.